Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sex After Kids podcast. I have a special interview that I'm really excited about this week. It is with a naturopath out of the East Coast of Canada, Heather Drummond. Heather is the founder of Healing Vitality and the creator of Intuitive Energy Resets, which are a unique approach that helps people restore balance to their nervous systems, release energetic patterns, and reconnect with their authentic vitality. She has a multidisciplinary background with everything from nutrition and supplements to energetic awareness, and Heather brings a whole person approach to healing. So she supports clients who are navigating stress, burnout, hormonal shifts, and chronic imbalances. Hello to most of us here, guiding them towards greater regulation, resilience, and empowerment. Known for her intuitive insights and grounded presence, Heather's work bridges science and soul, making nervous system healing accessible, practical, and deeply transformative. I was really drawn to Heather partially, so many things, but a large part due to her nervous system work. And that's a big part of this conversation. And the reason I have her on the podcast is because one of the four pillars, one of the four desire drivers of my work in the Naked Fun Comeback is nervous system work. Is initiating your partner and yourself with an awareness of nervous system and understanding how postpartum, how life, how perimenopause are affecting your nervous system and therefore your libido. We talk about codependency, we talk about nutrition, we talk about nervous system and some of her very favorite resets. You can find links to those amazing resources in the show notes below, and I would love to hear if you want more of these kinds of juicy interviews. Catch you next time.
Welcome to the Sex After Kids podcast, a place for parents to come and learn together about the sometimes bumpy road back into the saddle of their sex life after adoption, childbirth, or joining a blended family. I am your host, Sophia Ashley, certified sex educator and sex coach, mother and stepmother, and your totally TMI guide to becoming BFFs with your body and initiating easy, connected, and confident, naked, sexy fun times. Here we are, one part science of sex, one part mindfulness magic, and one part straight up real talk to help you find the spark in your relationship and yourself after kids. I'm so glad you're here.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sex After Kids podcast. I am super excited to have a guest today, Heather Drummond. She is from out east in Canada, and we are going to be talking about all things relationships and intimacy and bodies and health. Heather, welcome. Can you tell everybody just a little bit about you and what you do? I know there's so much to your practice, but
Thank you so much. It was delightful how we just kind of found each other. And when we first talked, it was probably for a good hour and a half, I think, or something like that. We just kept on going, riffing off each other. So we'll try and be good today and keep it in your 40-minute or so time frame to keep everybody's attention. So I have been in the naturopathic world for 20 years, and that whole time, without me being fully aware of it, I've been working with the nervous system.
got
I
it.
focus on stress and inflammation as words that people can relate to in terms of my work and what I support. I support people and animals both, because sometimes the animals bring the people, sometimes the people bring the animals. I have also a diverse background because I probably needed to balance my own nervous system. And so I'd go and learn something and then I'd be like, oh, this is fantastic. And then I'd bring it into my practice. So everything from Bach flower remedies to energy work to theta healing to um, holistic nutrition to acupuncture to access bars, access consciousness to metamorphic technique and getting deeper into the nervous system when I fell for horses at 50 and dove deep into that pool. And I took an equine fascia and trauma release course 3 times.
Yeah.
And in that experience, and I'm still in the experience, the amount of potency that safety has for the nervous system and how our fascia holds our traumas in our body um, became so evident. And horses, they don't lie if you look at their eyes,
Yeah.
but their body, their persona can totally lie because of
Mm.
keeping themselves safe. They have to like suck it up, buttercup, or land in those various stages of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn,
Yeah.
or rest and digest. And so the last 3 years, it's kind of like everything's come together
Yeah.
in this, in the, remember the gelatin salad with the fruit and stuff in it? I'm aging myself, but everything's kind of gelled. Once I hit that course, it was like, oh my gosh, all these things I've been learning all this time is really about nervous system stuff. And
Yeah.
and then experiencing like, okay, I'm gonna go on my own little journey because I've got to be the safe place for the horse. So my nervous system has to be balanced
Mm-hmm.
before I actually land in the horse's presence in order to get them to the place of safety. So
Yeah.
all of that is kind of the background that I play in
Yeah.
with my clientele and creating a safe container for them. And then we were talking, it was just so easy to riff because really partnerships are like that safety between me and the horse,
Yeah.
really. And so we can go various places today.
Well, and what I
But
love, like, for people who are listening, who are like, nervous system on a sex podcast, like, why, what? Like, it is a core
mm,
pillar of my work, right? So if you're a new listener or an old listener, right, you want to think back to the 4 desire drivers. There's a very early episode called The 4 Secret Ingredients to a Fabulous Sex Life After Kids. And nervous system, like awareness and understanding is huge, and it really goes across all of the other pillars, because
mm,
when we're in a state of fight or flight because of stress, because of the day to day, because of our nervous system being maxed out, because I've got 2 little people yelling at me and 5 bills to pay and pasta boiling on the stove. And then when you add how the nervous system cycles in a month through your menstruation. Like
mhm,
I am way more prone to overwhelm and sensory overload in my luteal than I am in the other phases. And then you add autoimmune disorder like my Hashimoto's or arthritis or like any other things that people are starting to experience in their 40s. And then you add like perimenopause.
yeah.
And you just have a buttload of factors that all boil down to creating discomfort and alarm in your body. There is
Mhm.
some reason always for your body to be like, things are not cool. And I don't want to gender it too heavily because, like, men have their own stuff, or people with penises have their own reasons to be in fight or flight. They may have a few less, though, around into like sex in particular, I think, because we
Mm,
also can't, we have to
It's
remember
different.
there's sexual trauma there.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
and of
and
course,
it's one
men
in
and
three.
people with penises can have sexual trauma. Um,
100%. 100%.
Right. But
One
so
in three.
all of these pieces create a cocktail where, like, if we're ignoring nervous system when it comes to trying to initiate with our partner and give them a space where they're going to like relax into fully enjoying sexual pleasure and getting all the benefit of it, then we need to know how to recognize a fight or flight or fawn or freeze state. We need to know how to get ourselves out of it or be the leader who can invite our partner back into safety.
Yeah.
And that, which sounds really complicated, but it's not. And we're going to talk about some tools to do that today, is like, to me, pillar number one, especially for the couples who are stuck in what I call the merry-go-round of avoidance, where we are not initiating well. We are not initiating with nervous system awareness. And when we initiate with nervous system awareness, all the dominoes can like change. So I'm curious, Heather, where should we start?
I know. Well, it
Go
depends how
go ahead.
much your listeners might have as an awareness of what those nervous system responses look like,
Yeah,
because
what I mean,
you
why don't
can,
we do a little primer? Do you want to do a little primer on like what's happening in the body when that's happening?
right, or even emotionally or behavior
Mhm.
wise,
Yeah.
right? I Somebody had posted on social media beautiful template, and I will email it to you if
Okay.
you don't already have it, that we can somehow marry up
Yeah.
in the show notes. But like flight, we think of as running away from the bear, like the typical, like, I'm gotta
Yeah.
run because it's dangerous. But in this really succinct um, resource, it describes it as the workaholic, the overthinker, the anxiety, the OCD, the panic, the
Mm-hmm.
difficulty sitting still, the perfectionist, the
Yeah.
avoidance, hyperactivity, sadness, loneliness. I wouldn't necessarily have come to all those things as being flight,
Yeah.
but if you think of busy internally as
Yeah.
being flight, even if you're sitting and you're working away, you're running from
Yeah.
something. There's an avoidance there, right?
Yeah. And
And
control
it's
too,
and
that like
control.
I'm going to
Yeah.
control everything. I'm going to be in charge of everything. I'm going to make everything perfect,
Yes.
um, to
Yeah.
protect myself from whatever it is that I'm trying to like outrun.
The outcome, yeah. And the
Yeah.
fight, the list is anger, outbursts, controlling, the bully, explosive behavior, irritability, judgment, shaming,
Mm,
slamming the door, self-harm. And so from that perspective, we don't always think of those as all being fight,
yeah.
right? Some of them we do. And when you think of how it can also be, I had an experience just yesterday where I became really protective of something, like, oh, like, if you do this, then I won't have that,
Mm-hmm.
or it also became, I need to control the size of the commitment that
Yeah.
I'm willing to give you, to have some sort of power over, in a sense, right? So it's that power dynamic of control that
Well,
the
and I
fight
can
can
see
be.
that for our couples, and maybe you see this too. Like I hear, so I hear myself in the flight as the busy, busy, and I think of that as like hyperactive. So if
Hmm.
I'm stressed out, I will add more to my plate. I will decide that that is the time that the bathroom needs to be deep cleaned, and that like
Yes.
all the tasks that are like medium grade all of a sudden get elevated to must be done now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so that I notice in myself, and I notice in a lot of the women in particular that I work with, especially when we're like type A overachieving or functioning in our relationship. But
Yeah.
also the flight to me looks like picking fights. It looks like deciding that, and I mean, this gets into a whole mental load conversation, but like that one cup that's not put away properly is like worth a complete flip out over. And it comes out as like criticism and judgment rather than
Hmm.
curiosity towards my partner, right? Like the
Hmm.
curiosity of like, oh, were you just like super tired and in zombie mode? So you forgot that cup instead of like, what the fuck's wrong with you, you idiot?
Well, and we can go back and forth between fight, flight, very easy, and
Through
fawn. Like
all of
all
them.
three of those can are kind of on one level, and freeze is on another
The other
level.
one. Yeah.
And
So
so
what
we can
does freeze
bounce.
look like?
Freeze is difficulty making decisions, feeling stuck, dissociative behavior,
Yeah.
isolating, numbing yourself, like, which could be social media or food or whatever, like all
Yeah.
the different ways we numb. Shut down, which is like, just leave me alone. Just don't even, like, leave me alone. Like the
Yeah.
turtle, right? The
I need to go
protective
take a nap
shell.
right now and pass out.
Yeah.
I can't
And
handle this conversation right now. I need to walk away from this conflict. Yeah.
yeah, exhaustion, indecision, sleeping a lot. It can be any way that you create that distance.
The cocooning.
Okay, the
Yeah.
cocooning, yeah. And the fawn, which not everybody's familiar with as a trauma response, but it's that people pleasing place,
Yeah.
which lands in the comfortable code, like it's more of a codependent awareness, like in terms of a label. We think of people pleasing and the controlling as being the two sides of codependence sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm, no boundaries, lack of identity, appeasing, engaging, self-critical, devaluation of yourself,
Yeah.
like putting yourself in places where you are not able to say no when you mean no, and those type of situations, which can just come about when you say yes to coffee too fast and add to your
Totally.
place.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily only partner related, but it's taking
Yeah.
you away from your relationship, or putting you in places of overcommitment that make you even more exhausted, that you in hindsight, like 3 minutes before coffee, you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't going. I don't feel like going.
Totally. Well, and I see that too as like obviously like duty sex is the biggest one here in terms of like, oh, fine,
Mhm.
we'll just get it over with, or I'll pretend I'm into this because I don't want to hurt your feelings and I don't really want to speak my truth. But also,
Yeah.
I think, especially when couples are busy and they're trying to balance, we need time for ourselves independently and we need time for each other together. And
Mhm.
if, let's say, you're spending all of the free time you have together as a unit and neither of you is getting that hour or two or whatever by yourself to just like do something for you completely alone, it can even be like choosing to watch Netflix with your partner tonight instead of going for that walk by yourself or going to the yoga class or just going to the bedroom and reading by yourself or meditating or like whatever it is that you want to do like completely alone and without the company of another human.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
which is so true. And it's
Well, and I
interesting
heard,
how that
sorry.
all shows up. And I mean, all of those things can show up in like during sex as well. And I don't
Mhm.
know how much time we'll have to get
Absolutely.
into it, but like I got triggered the other night during intimacy with my partner. Nothing to do with him at all, everything to do with my past experiences, which were not even that severe on the grand scale of things. And like, this is what I really want everyone who listens to understand is like, you know, a little trigger warning. We'll go into some sexualized assault here for a minute, but it's not like I've ever been like pinned or like violently assaulted or anything like that. We're talking about a
Mhm.
scenario where it was early on in my sexual career and I was equal parts excited and curious and nervous and wasn't, that tentativeness was not honored by the person that I was with. And I said no a lot, but didn't get up and leave, even though I probably could have. Likely I was fawning, but also like I was curious. There was all these new sensations happening and all this stuff, right? And
Mm,
I went
mhm.
into like literal flashback and full blown, like every part of me just wanted to like push my partner off of me and get him to get off me. And it was
Mhm.
like equal parts flight in my body, but I was fawning at the same time because I didn't want to do that to my husband and make him feel like shit. So then I'm holding on to all of it
Mhm.
within myself,
Yeah.
trying to like recognize what happens, talking myself through it, pretending my husband's not noticing at all that like I've got this whole inner dialogue going on, which like clearly he noticed, but neither of us said anything. I didn't say, whoa, I need to pause. I'm like having a flashback here and like something's happening for me and I just need a minute. And he
Yeah.
didn't say, you seem a little
What's
off.
going
Can
on?
we like pause for a minute? Right. And that's where the like leadership piece shows up, which we can get into in terms of noticing these states of dysregulation
Mhm.
and the power of the pause in all of this. You notice yourself
Mhm.
go to any of this place. Like, I'm going to immediately say yes for the coffee. Like, pause, take a minute, take a breath,
Let me check
ask
my
yourself
schedule.
if you actually want to go to
Yeah.
coffee
Yeah.
and answer from like a genuine place of listening to yourself instead of that rush.
Yeah. And checking in can be different for different people. I've dove into
Mm,
human design in the last 5 years as well.
cool.
And there are people who get a feeling in their body immediately. There's people who will say, mm-hmm, mm-mm, like
Yeah.
it'll be like nonverbal noises, which sounds
Yeah.
funny. There's also people who have to wait for the emotional wave, like, oh yeah, this is exciting and I'm curious and all the things, but wait for the emotional wave to, like, literally waves to calm down, and then they
Yeah.
can say yes. So the pausing to say, oh, I'll check my schedule, or, yeah, I want to set that date with you tonight, but I can't figure out whether I'm exhausted or if I just need time to warm up to the idea, and you need to actually flirt with me a little bit more to get my brain engaged,
Yeah.
whatever the situation is. Um, and so knowing how you actually make decisions can also be in fact impactful for
Mm.
couples to know, so that if you're dealing with someone who has to wait for that emotional wave, then you like hang out in the flirty place, and their emotional wave will go much faster potentially.
Yeah.
Or it may be that you'll just get to know, like, okay, yeah, I have a rhythm, based on my cycle or whatever, where my like, nah, not really, is in that first or last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, bring it on is in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so listen, like putting all those pieces together can be really empowering for people to learn more about themselves from even a human design perspective, to go
Yeah.
to and your partner too, because then you can have a dialogue about something that's not necessarily sexual but intimate, because you're learning about each other in a way that's outside the box.
It's so like, I just always am reminded of like my early days in this work where like, doesn't matter whether we're working on sex or money or what's the other big one? I don't know, but whatever big thing we're like, we're or weight loss, like body image stuff, it all comes down to like at the bottom of that hole of all of those holes, it's like self-awareness
Yeah.
and self-leadership, right? Because what this is making me think of, honestly, is like the most useful thing that my husband and I got out of couples counseling was that it all comes down to knowing each other's stress states and responses. I tend to go into fight and flight, and my husband tends to go into freeze. And so, as soon as we could see that, right? Because especially when we've got the opposite going on, my
Right.
husband's stressed, he's zoning out in front of Star Wars. I'm stressed, I'm getting busier. I'm going to criticize even more what's happening because he's in a stress state. And so the whole thing came down to, oh, Sophia's getting a little bit critical and she's like adding a bunch to her trait plate. That's a clue that Sophia's stressed out. And that's a clue for Daniel and for Sophia to be like, what does Sophia need to like chill out and relax? What
Yeah.
needs to get removed from her plate? What does she need? Oh, Daniel's like zoning out in front of Star Trek. That's not a sign that he's like exhausted or lazy or whatever. It's a sign that he's stressed out. Can we get curious about what's happening? And as
Hmm.
soon as we started to see that almost like as a language in our relationship,
Yeah.
right? Then the
Yeah.
criticism and the judgment get reframed into curiosity.
Yeah.
And the same can go for how we initiate, right? Like, I'm definitely in the place in my life with my Hashimoto's where like everything about you annoys me for the last 2 weeks of my cycle.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it has to be a no-go time for sex. We just need to know that and know that there needs to be a lot more emphasis on supporting my nervous system to
Yeah.
get it to a place where it wants to engage and benefit from sex
Right.
than in the first half of my cycle.
Well,
And
and that
without
can
knowing
be.
that, you're just
Mhm.
like, why the fuck is she mad at me every 2 weeks? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I love that of like knowing what is your partner's kind of like default or like main stress response, but also how do they make decisions and in their body and how do they make decisions that they feel good about and what
Mm-hmm.
container do you need to create for them? Does it mean
Mm-hmm.
giving them 5 extra minutes before you ask the question? Does it mean inviting them to close their eyes and ask their body what it wants? Like what's the protocol, I guess, for
Right.
lack of a better
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. And I'm one of these people who need to pause, but
Mhm.
I'm so much into intuition. When I'd get excited, I think that was the hit of intuition. And I
Ah,
would be like, whoa, yeah, of course I want to go to coffee. Oh yeah, let's do it. And then like if there was any amount of time between the commitment and the thing, like 50% of the time I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna be trapped
why?
there. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna trapped. I did this to myself. Oh, if I change, I'm one of those friends who just change all the time,
Yeah.
or one of those partners who are whimsical and, oh man, you always make these commitments and then you don't actually, and then it becomes a thing. And it's all about just how I needed to like pause before like just let the excitement go, or let
Yeah.
the like dread, like, And then
Yeah.
you warm up to the dread and it's like, oh no, I really actually do want to do this. It's actually good for me to do this thing. Let's go do this thing. And so
Yeah.
even like it could be planning a getaway, right?
Yeah.
And it's investing in the couple, but if the person's two decision making things aren't matching and the person who's excited and knows in their body right away is waiting for the person who
Mm.
has to pause first to get to the level, it's like, what, like you're never excited about anything, and that creates another rub that isn't even necessary.
Yeah, that's just a difference in style. Oh, I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit and pick up on codependency just because you mentioned
Hmm.
it. And I feel like when we talked before, remind me, but you were talking about like, was there a correlation there between codependency and like the inflammation and the symptoms that you're
Yeah,
seeing in people? Or remind me, I'm like, what were we
I
talking
know.
about?
That was a while ago. We went
That
all
I
over the
just
place.
remember you mentioned the codependency piece. Maybe it came down
Yeah,
to the vagus nerve work. Anyways, let's talk
yeah.
about codependency.
Yeah,
What
let's
is
talk about
codependency?
codependency. Well, I think a large part of the population are codependent, and it is a trauma response. And I think that
Mm,
that the last 5 years definitely has added more trauma stacking to stuff. So it puts people in the place where they're seeking safety, and codependence actually can be a way to seek safety in an unhealthy way.
okay.
Like you're either trying to get into that fawn place where
Mhm.
you're losing yourself, or you're trying to control something where you're actually
So
trying to.
codependency being like, because I always think of like too much reliance, and maybe that's like a bad way. Like it's kind
No,
of like
it can be.
outsourcing your emotional state to another person.
Yeah,
Like,
there has to
um,
be two sides with the codependent. So somebody has to be the person that you're outsourcing to,
yeah,
right?
and
So
that
there's
me
always the partnership going on, that
got
people
it.
are playing roles. So
Yeah,
somebody's the controller, quote
yeah,
unquote, and someone's the controllee, quote
yeah.
unquote. And what I see so often in my practice is that there's a whole bunch of ways that we even energetically express our codependence. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be seen through empathy that's gone sideways. It can be seen through how much we use our energy to actually control situations. So
Well, and I
it's
think it
different.
also looks like, because for me, like I hear the trauma response part as a sex educator, what I see is like part of the reason so many of us are in codependent relationships is because that's what's modeled to us in the
Mm-hmm.
movies, right?
Yeah,
So
and in our lives.
what we
Right.
see in the movies, what we see in our lives, like the narrative in movies and songs and pop culture is like, I am not complete without you. You make
Mm-hmm.
me whole. A
Mm-hmm.
relationship is like two people totally intertwined, like collapsing into each other. Like that is what a healthy relationship is. And
What
um
is modeled? Yeah,
yeah, like that's what's modeled. And
yeah.
sort of almost that notion, I forget if it's Plato or like that Greek myth of the idea that like we all used to be like one person with four arms and four legs, and then we got split in two and we're all like looking for our other half kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think of it as like we can slip into patterns. Like I remember when I broke up with my first long-term boyfriend, we'd been together for 3 years, and I was like changing a light bulb or something in our house. And I was like, I haven't changed a light bulb in 3 years. Not because I can't, but because I just like stopped doing that kind of stuff and like assumed my partner would or defaulted to this script that he should kind of like take care of those things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be easy to like give our power away in some areas, not all necessarily, without even realizing when we're kind of following these gender scripts. I also tend to be like the dominant one in my relationship. I'm your like type A, pretty bossy, pretty like strong willed woman. And I have also been in relationships with partners who are the follower, and it's annoying, right? Like, I know I put off this air that I just want you to do what I say, and I know I will throw a tantrum when you don't do what I say.
But I'm not interested in just being someone who's with someone who's just following me around and doing what I say, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn so much about interdependence, which is this idea, like one
Mm.
of my mentors and my old bosses years ago, this really flipped the switch for me. He'd been married for like 35 years at the time and has probably been married for 45, 50 years now. And I was like, what's the success? And he was like, I just get a front row seat to my partner's life and to her evolution as a human. And I get to just like watch her and support her to go through all these things. But we are two trees next to each other, not intertwined. Maybe our roots are connected and we've built a life together and the light feeds each other and whatever. But I get to watch her do her thing. She is separate from me. We are not one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy of that and the autonomy in that and the polarity, not this masculine, feminine bullshit, just the polarity of like, I am a person who is strong in myself and accountable to myself, and you are a person who's strong in yourself and accountable to yourself. Like, that's where attraction comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've
Mm-hmm.
been together for a long time and we've mushed into this codependency, especially through the kid years where like I need to know where you are every night and all that stuff, like we're just really intertwined. We lose some of that because we become one mushy ball and we have to go through this process of like separating again.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
how does that kind of interplay with the nervous system for you stuff, or like how do you see it show up in your practice?
Well, as soon as people are triggered into one of those places on the nervous system side, then the need to be taken care of because we're exhausted or whatever the case may
Mm,
be, or the need to control something starts to rear its head because the autonomy is gone and we're just exhausted, right?
yeah.
Like we've lost the bits of time that we used to be able to carve out for ourselves because the kids are taking that time and are the priority.
Yeah.
So the balance in our own lives is, unless it's um and I've seen it, I call it Queenie. Unless people actually carve out their time for their autonomous things that they enjoy and fill their cup, even if they have kids. And, I call it Queenie. It's like, get Queenie out before you hit menopause,
Mm,
because Queenie's going to show up at menopause, and not all people in menopause have got the empty nest, but the people who get the empty nest land in Queenie quite well, because then it's, well, all there is to look after what I want to do and what he wants to do, right? It changes the dynamics. But if you're not an empty nester when you hit perimenopause or menopause, the Queenie aspect of things starts building that autonomy back.
mhm.
And you talk about those two trees and that healthiness of the interdependence of the two trees, because they feed each other at the root level,
Yeah.
literally. I
Mhm.
love that imagery that you gave. Unless people are filling their own cup and building that autonomy into those very busy years, um, then you're going to get into that codependence of needing to know where he is every night, or
Yeah.
like, it's just the busy piece or the extra things on the plate, from soccer to camp to whatever. And that's part of the design. But I think part of the design that we've lost in today's society is we don't have the village the way that the village was set up in the tribe
Totally.
world, right? And
Yeah.
so even creating that village, even if your family lives across the country, creating that village of sameness with your
Yeah.
neighbors who have the same age kids or a little bit older or whatever, like finding your people
Yeah.
who can be your village and allow you to pour stuff into your cup. Somebody, and I loved it, they said, "Oh no, you're not supposed to pour from your full cup." And I was like, "Oh, what's this?" They're like, "You're supposed to pour from your saucer, the spillage,
With the overflow. Oh, I love it.
overflow." And
Well,
then one of my friends was even like, "Oh, I want to pour from the coffee coming off the counter. That's what I want to pour
yeah.
from." It's like, okay, there you go.
Well, and
Because
what I'm kind of hearing from you there is it's like if we don't invest anything into the habit of like filling our own cup during the messy middle years,
when those hormones of perimenopause and menopause change and they sort of force you to prioritize yourself, it
Yeah.
can be a much harder adjustment. And it's
Wow.
kind of, I mean, it's the same as I say all the time, like your sex life is going to look different when your kids are 1 to 3 years old, for sure.
Mm.
And you may not have a lot of sex in that window because of just extreme exhaustion from sleep deprivation and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But if you let it go completely, and then your kids turn 5 and you look at each other and you're like, who the fuck are you? Like, it is way harder to rebuild than what I call like holding each other's hand through the dark, right? We're going to hold each other's hand through the dark so that when we emerge, we have a foundation to build on still.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with that nervous system piece and with prioritizing yourself. And we're just always, this is the challenge of making sure there's enough in the cup for me, for you, for us, for my children, for my work, right? There's a lot of cups to fill. And
Mm.
it's the oxygen mask analogy, right? Like I have to put my
Yeah.
oxygen mask on myself first. And then actually the oxygen mask has to go on my relationship. And
Yeah.
then it goes on my kids.
Yes.
Because that's what keeps my marriage together. And my kids, ultimately, the best thing for them is parents who are together if the relationship can
It's
be
healthy.
maintained, right? Anything else we want to share about codependency and why it
Mm.
matters? Why does it matter in terms of relationship? I mean, I think it matters in terms of sex because of that polarity piece. Like, if you're wondering
Mm.
where your attraction to your partner went, ask yourself how much your identity of your couple and yourself is like all wrapped together, and start to
Mm.
explore ways to differentiate and
Right.
pull apart and give each other space to rediscover who you are outside of this partnership. Who am
Yeah.
I as me, human, not mother, not partner, not wife, not whatever. Um, and
Well,
because I think it also gets back to that like control and power and how it's moving around, which absolutely relates to the bedroom. And like, if we're
mm.
feeling controlled all the time and our partner's asking us to have sex with us, we might retaliate by withholding sex because we
Mhm.
feel like we're being manipulated into it, or because we feel like it's something that we're doing for them, which could be from like a codependent place for sure.
Right. Right.
Um, any
And
other kind of thoughts?
when
Yeah.
people first start dating and they're hyper and horny for each other, they are two autonomous beings. So
Yeah.
remembering that piece before it got messy and mushy with kids, and now I have the title of wife or husband or what have you. I'm a Mrs., I'm a Mr.
Yeah.
Before I was just me, right? And so reconnecting with the pieces of yourself that was why you showed up in this relationship, and
Totally.
remembering the pieces of your partner is why you showed up in your relationship, like,
Yeah.
so being able to kind of wipe the screen. I wanted to share also, there's so many dynamics within relationships in the world and what's projected onto us with media and social media and all the things. And in one of the access consciousness tools is asking yourself, who does this feeling belong to? Who does this thought belong to? And I take it a step further because we might say, well, it's mine, but what percentage is yours? So if it's like kind of a statistical norm that you hit menopause or you hit the late 30s or you're a mom with kids and all the things, it's a statistical norm that you're going to lose your interest in sex because you just don't have time. Well, what if you actually were the horny one before you had kids?
Yeah.
Are you just taking on the statistical norm of this stage of your life? And so asking, who does this belong to? Who's this lack of sex drive belong to? And then what
Yeah.
percentage is mine? It might be 10%. And so you literally just imagine that you're writing a postcard to the 90%. And
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, hey, honey, how you doing? And he's like, oh, my wife's back. What happened to you? Because there is this thing where this energetic entanglement or energetic empathy or energetic awareness can bombard us with like the stress of others even.
Yeah.
And especially if there's a large percentage in your cohort that are going through or experiencing X, Y, and Z, then, and it doesn't map to who you actually are as a person. Like there's a disconnect. Like I was the
Yeah.
strong, autonomous, horny one, and it's gone. Well, yeah, it could be physical, but asking who does this belong to start with
I love it.
could be an easy fix to just
Yeah.
recognize, like, what percentage is mine? 30% is mine. And it's the first number. You just like go with
You
the
just
first number.
see, yeah.
What is this frustration? Is any of it mine? 2% is mine. Well, jeepers, there's a lot of frustration on the planet. Maybe we write the postcard and give that away, and you just live in your
Yeah.
happy
No,
existence where
thank you. Just
no, thank
lovingly
you.
handing people back their problems.
You're not
Well, and
doubling
again,
it.
it's that night that's like challenging the narrative, right? Is a
Yeah,
dead bedroom or a sexless marriage or like low sex a necessary part of being a parent? Absolutely not.
not.
I have friends who literally built themselves a sex room at the top of their garage. They would leave their kids sleeping in their house, go over there, have themselves a night. They
Make the
built a
noisy.
little cocoon of amazingness for themselves because they decided it was important, because they chose that. And they still to this day tell me they just watch everyone around them so miserable, complaining about their sex lives, all this stuff, but there's no energy, there's no intent, there's no effort into making it any different. And it honestly comes down to like, it's the same with life. You know, you can live in zombie land and put one foot in front of the other and pay your taxes and whatever, or you can decide the life you want to live and make the bold moves that are going to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So, what are some of your favorite ways or favorite tools that you use? You know, if we're talking about being in this constant state of stress, if we're talking about like multiple factors that are putting us into
mm,
these places of fight, flight, and freeze, what are some things we can do to nourish our body or our mind to kind of like flick out of those states or just support ourselves on the day to day?
yeah. Well, a piece of it is physical. And when you're in those fight, flight, freeze, fawn, your adrenals are taking an extra hit beyond the busyness of life. And your
Mm-hmm.
adrenals are your backup for your sex hormones. And so
Okay.
literally there can be a low sex hormone
Yep.
thing going on. Your testosterone's low as a woman. It's already low, but we're supposed to have some.
Yep.
Right? Your thyroid and your adrenals are your backup when you hit menopause and perimenopause. So you can actually have a really smooth experience if you proactively start supporting them in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're supporting them in your 30s, then you actually are going to have more sex drive.
Yep.
And so that can look like B vitamins. It can look like vitamin C. It can look like a adaptogen like ashwagandha or relora or seeing somebody in your local area who actually works with hormones or works with supporting adrenal burnout, because the adrenal burnout is what that trauma response is
Yep.
on a physical level sometimes. And giving yourself grace and a little bit of time for those nutrients to kick in. I mean, prioritize, I call it being a food snob. But if you have nutrient dense eggs available because somebody's backyard chickens created them versus the $3 chicken eggs that are at
Whateverness.
the gas station,
Yeah.
like you're going to actually be feeding and fueling your adrenals with actual real food. So making priorities on things where you can be a food snob. I mean, running a household means that there's more demands on your food budget, but the 12 eggs from somebody's backyard chickens is $5.
Yeah.
It's not breaking your bank.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one thing I would suggest anybody who can tolerate eggs. Not everybody tolerates eggs
Yeah.
or likes them, but if you do, find some friends with some backyard chickens. It's
Your
crazy
body
what
will thank you.
your body will thank you. Your sex life will thank you. You're eating the
Mm,
ovum, you're eating the egg. It's reproductive
yeah.
energy, right?
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
other side of it, it's reproductive energy. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then on the other side of things, if you can be aware that sleep is super important,
Yeah.
Giving yourself grace to nap together,
Mm,
nap when kids are napping.
yeah.
That's what that village is about. It's like, I need Saturdays between 2 and 2:30, 2 and 3:30. Is anybody in the
Yeah.
village able to take my kids who I trust, you know?
Yeah.
And figuring it out, like prioritizing sleep can be really, really important. And sleep doesn't actually have to be REM. Laying flat
Yeah.
will psych your adrenals out to thinking that you're in rest and digest
Mm-hmm. So
because
we
you're not
do
ready
all
to.
the what do they call it, like horizontal parenting,
Yeah, just
where you're
put a
where you
Netflix
lay
channel.
on your belly and your kids like drive cars on your back, or
Yeah, totally. Anytime you're flat, you're not in fight and flight
yeah.
because you can't go punch somebody and you're not able to run right away. So your tricks your adrenals into thinking, oh, maybe we can come out of rest and digest.
Yeah.
The other thing is physical touch that's safe. So if you
Mm-hmm.
live in a safe house, like you have designed your house to be safe, touching your body anywhere, your legs, your face, giving yourself a hug, touching your body anywhere in a non-sexual way that's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
touching yourself and identifying things in the room and going, oh, that couch is safe. I'm I bought that couch because it's comfy and it's safe. This blanket's
Mm.
really safe. And literally telling your body you're safe when it's true.
Yeah.
If it's not true, don't tell your body it's safe. But when you're actually touching yourself and telling yourself that you're safe, there's things that go on inside the brain that will kick you out of fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Absolutely. And that's like
Okay.
a topic for a whole other podcast episode, but masturbation or self-pleasure is a reason for that. Because if you can touch yourself in a sexual way, in
Yeah.
a way that feels safe, if it's by yourself, you're going to create more associations of safety for your body in sexual
Yeah.
situations.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally. Safety is huge for this nervous system thing. Like back to the horses where I first started.
totally. Well, and so
And
if you had
eyes
like,
don't lie for humans either. Like
yeah.
eyes don't lie for humans either.
If you
You
had
can
like
be
one
smiling and
practice,
like,
I'm in hyperactive, like buzzing around like crazy. My partner looks at me. He wants to support me. What's like one thing he could guide me through or invite me to do?
he could get you to stop and recognize what your body feels like.
Mm, yep.
Get you to stop. He could even hug you for oxytocin if that is welcome.
Yep.
Like going past the 20-second hug.
Yep.
Like it's got to be past the 20-second hug.
Yep.
You guys can just do straight up eye contact. I don't know if you've seen this study about eye contact and the intimacy it creates,
Yep.
but having the agreement beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of this comes down to, because then it's safety and it's not like, oh, fuck you. Like, I'm
Yeah,
busy. Like,
totally.
I
Yeah.
gotta, who else is gonna do the dishes? Like, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
all the things. Having any agreement beforehand where it's a word. It's like, hey, I'm coming over. The blue me is coming over. The calm
Yeah.
blue me is
Yeah.
coming over.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like you make your agreement and having that longer than 20-second hug,
Yep.
staring in each other's eyes for 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
That's crazy what
Huge.
5 minutes a day can do.
It's magic. And then you do that while you share like three gratitudes. But I know for sure, like if and my roommates to romance challenge has this like safe touch blueprint for like how to approach your partner when they're buzzing around so that you don't get the like fuck off response, right?
Right.
Which is this idea of like how do you read the room? How do you make an
Mhm.
approach and go like, hey, come here. Let's like pause for 2 seconds. You can go back to the dishes right after.
Yeah.
Take 3 deep breaths with me. Let me hug you for 20 seconds. How do you feel now? Okay, continue on, you know?
Yeah. And you'll
Um,
continue on slower
yeah,
and
and then you
and
might just
adding
be
a
like, okay, maybe after I'm done the dishes, I'm maybe into being touched by you instead of after I'm
exactly
done the dishes, I'm just gonna go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and then I'm
right.
gonna collapse at 11 p.m. And not even
Exactly.
think about you. Yeah.
And throwing in appreciation for what the busy one is doing,
Yes. Ooh, I love that.
right?
Yep.
Like the
Oh,
appreciation for the busy one and like the like having, the honey-do list get addressed
Yeah.
That's a turn on for 90% of women, right?
100%. We can get into the
So,
whole mental load conversation.
yeah. So like, yeah, becoming aware of just what your body is actually feeling,
Yeah.
becoming present in the present moment by breathing or having somebody actually touch you, or you slowing down and touching yourself. Present moment stuff will get you out of that busy moment. There's a book, I think his name is Michael Brown, and it's the presence process, and it's like a weekly exercise where you just have to be present for 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Which is filling your cup.
Yeah.
15 minutes doesn't seem that long, but it can be a lot long.
Can be as a parent, but
you could
I have
also
been
multitask it with the
prioritizing that.
tub or the
Yeah,
shower or
totally.
whatever, right?
Yeah, it's so true. Habit stacking, baby. Oh, Heather, this has been so juicy. Is there anything else on the top of your mind that you want to share before we wrap up?
I just am full of gratitude for you sharing me with your audience. It's cool to be able to go back and forth with somebody of like mind, and if people are interested in diving in a little bit deeper, there is some stuff on my website that they could just go grab. One of them is a gallbladder release. It's a free program
I should
where
check
you're
that
just
out.
literally holding onto your spouse's head. You're caressing the spouse's head, and you're going down these beautiful muscles that hold so much, and it releases a whole bunch of that beautiful mental activity that goes on.
I will be trying that tonight.
Yeah, 30 minutes and you've got jello in your hands, and then literally it doesn't have to take 30 minutes, but it could take 30 minutes, and it's no effort on the person who's holding the head.
Yeah.
You just literally have your hands between your legs and the person's head between your legs, like facing up at the ceiling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an easy tool that people can do, and if they're there, there's a nervous system reboot, nervous system.
Awesome. We will make sure to share all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time, Heather. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks so much, Tia.
This is where we do the end bit, right? Let's take a mindfulness minute, my friends. Deep breath in. Nice, big mouth. Sound it out. Breath out. Voila, your nervous system thanks you. Thank you for being here. I hope your head and your heart have something new to consider and something new to try today. No husbands were harmed in the making of this podcast, and a very big thank you to Mine for his original music composition and help. I love you, babe. This podcast was recorded on the traditional territories of the Kwanlin Dun and Tonquichan First Nations in Whitehorse, Yukon. We acknowledge and are grateful to the original stewards of this land where we live and play and raise our babies. You can catch me on the Instagram and Facebook at Intimacy After Kids, where I share tips, tools, and inspiration for your naked fun comeback. Or you can join the weekly-ish newsletter and find info about how we can work together at intimacyafterkids.com. Catch you next time.